Hello and welcome to Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life. This is Jared, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, Johanna.
Hey, Johanna.
Hi, Jared.
What are we going to talk about today?
How to keep your classroom cleaned and organized.
That sounds fun.
I sense a little bit of sarcasm.
Well, let's have a... Well, Chris, there's a whole Netflix show on tidiness now, and I think people love it, but...
I love it.
Maybe I'm just behind the times on how interesting it is to hear about tidiness.
I watch that show while tidying.
Yeah, I bet you do. But she doesn't tell you how to tidy up your classroom.
No, we actually kind of are back to that request thing. We've had a couple of questions about how specifically or what are some tricks I use to keep the classroom clean. They get that a clean classroom is important. The question is, how do you get students to maintain and keep the classroom that way?
Well, I bet that if your goal is to be a contract time teacher and still a good teacher, it's important to keep the classroom clean so that it runs the way you want and that you're not spending hours outside of work getting it back to a presentable state in the morning or whatever.
Correct. And this is easier as a general truth in an elementary classroom where you just have this abundant gift of time. In the secondary world, this can be more challenging when you are dictated and run by a series of bells.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is secondary focus then?
No, it's anyone.
All right. Well,
I happen to have used it in both elementary and secondary, but as a general truth, elementary teachers have less of an issue with
because they have the same
organization.
Students all the time.
Same students. If they lose organization in the morning, they can put extra time in the afternoon. Not necessarily, but as a general truth, this tends to be the problem of those teachers who have a revolving door of students.
Yeah, okay. So what do you do?
Okay, first step is nothing goes in a drawer.
No drawers.
No drawers.
Because drawers are junk drawers.
Yes, and just laziness on the part of the student, or basically the only one that knows what goes in a drawer is the person who organized the drawer. Labels on the outside, pictures on the outside, all of that is well-intentioned, but it will lead to people just leaving stuff out because there's something about the door itself that causes people to not put things away. Whereas if you have things stored in open caddies or open containers and they can physically see where it goes, then they put it back where it goes.
I mean, that makes sense. That seeing where the thing goes just makes it natural for you to put it where it goes.
Yes.
Because it's with its friends.
It's with its friends.
Whereas if it's in a drawer, even if you know which drawer is the right drawer, you still have to engage your slow brain to think, this is a pencil. Where do I know pencils go? They go in the pencil drawer. This one's the pencil. Like, anytime you're asking the slow brain to do something, it's no surprise that people just give up on it, right?
Right. Or a secondary student in a rush will use a drawer to just shove stuff in. And they'll take everything and just put it all into one drawer, kind of referencing what you said about junk drawers. Like, they'll hide the mess if you use drawers. So open caddies where people can see one thing per section, and then always make sure that there's one left. So for example, if you have a container of pencils and there's 6 kids at a table, you really want 7 pencils so that one always remains.
Then the pencil is the picture.
Right. People spend so much time trying to create printed labels or picture labels. Just leave an additional one, and then people always like to match it up with their friend. Like, oh, this
it's
is
just
more
natural?
pencil. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then elevate things. So when a student is sitting, like let's say you have erasers, you don't want students to have to peek inside the container to see what goes there. So sometimes I'll use different tricks or strategies to elevate the supply so that everyone can see it. Nothing gets hidden inside the caddies.
Which is the same basic principle as the drawer, is you don't want it to not be seen. The whole point is to make it obvious that this is the home of the, I don't know, what's something that you need to elevate?
Erasers are a big one. Individual pencil sharpeners need to be elevated. If you use dice in your classroom, they need to be elevated.
Because if they can't see it, it's not doing the trick.
Right, and I just use extra food containers. I buy caddies, and then I'll use like a small yogurt container or small dip containers and shove it inside there. If I can't find a container to work, I make them out of tin foil. It'll fill up a bunch of space, and then you tin foil the edge.
Yeah, okay.
Also, you want to make sure that nothing shares. You don't want pencils and scissors to go into the same space. You want to make sure everything has its own individual container.
That creates thinking, and thinking creates failure.
Yeah, and you can have, I'll have upwards of 20 or 30 different supplies open, accessible for students, all in their own container. And even very, very young students will magically just want to put everything away in the container where it goes.
This is like the saying out of sight, out of mind, but like for the opposite reason.
Yes.
It's like not out of sight, not out of mind.
And as a teacher, it's super easy for me to tell if something's missing or out of place. Same with the students. You'll have students that naturally want to fix it if it's wrong.
Okay, great. What else is there?
Yeah, okay. Next is you need to eliminate walking in your classroom.
No walking.
No walking. You want to really cut it down to 5 steps, if at all possible.
Step 1.
No, like physical walking steps.
Oh, like 1 foot in front of the other steps.
Yes. No student should have to ever walk more than 5 steps to do whatever they need to do in the classroom space.
Okay, so like what are some challenges to that?
Trash.
The trash.
The trash can.
Okay.
It is the delight of chaos in every classroom. And so eliminate it by making mini trash cans for students so that they preferably never even have to get up out of their seat. I happen to put one next to every sink. I put one on top of every table or center grouping. Lots of trash cans.
It's the way it works in business jerkland too.
It is?
Well, yeah, everyone has a trash and a recycling at their desk.
Oh, sure.
I assume
Yeah.
in San Francisco or something they have compost too or whatever. Because why
We
would
actually have a lot of California listeners. Hello, California.
enjoy your composting? Or composting or however you pronounce
We
it.
compost.
We compost, yes. But why would you want people interrupting their productivity to go take an empty coffee cup to the coffee cup trash thing, right? It just goes in a little thing.
Right. And then you just have to either make it a part of your workday as a teacher to empty all the trash cans or to have it a part of a student day. And we'll get into how to have students help with this, empty the trash cans.
Is this important in a classroom, like a calculus classroom that doesn't have a lot of paper waste?
I think so, because I think, one, there always is little stuff, whether it be the little rippings off of the paper, or even kids will be well-intentioned to like take things to the trash can. Let's say you're giving directions and they realize they need a trash can. They'll leave it on their desk and then it falls on the floor. Or a kid just doesn't want to learn for a minute, and so they'll invent a reason to need to go to the trash can. And so by having, I buy containers that are small, and those become the trash. You don't need like a real trash can or anything fancy. They used to sell these little teeny trash cans for classroom desks. That's a pain. Just get yourself a small, simple container.
It's a little bucket.
A little teeny bucket. Or I used to use big yogurt containers and covered them in paper and wrote trash on them.
Okay. So no walking. Step 1 is 5 steps, which is literal steps. No walking to the trash or other places to get stuff.
Same with student storage. If we're going to get into students storing things in your classroom, but you want to make sure that where a student stores their stuff isn't the same for the entire class, which kind of goes against everything that teachers know. Instead, you want micro storage that's very close to where a kid sits.
Okay. What's next?
Everything stays in the room.
What's that mean?
Any papers of value stay in the room. Pencils stay in the room. Pens stay in the room. Calculators stay in the room. Whatever it is that a student needs to access the learning is already in the room and stays in the room.
Okay. Well, how is that even a thing?
So a lot of times you want a student to show up with a pencil and an eraser and paper, and
Oh
you
yeah, I
want
remember
them.
this. You're supposed to to come prepared.
Yes,
So that
and
you
you
can be a
want
good
that you're going to
Boy
hand them
Scout.
a packet, and then they're supposed to bring the packet back the next day.
Yes, that's how I show I'm a good student.
Right. It's chaos and a disaster and a fight not worth having.
No, but how will I know whether people are good at following instructions or not? Which is my primary job as a teacher, is to make sure they follow my instructions.
That's not why teachers do that. It's because they have so many students. They figure one kid should take care of oneself, and I, as a teacher, shouldn't have to take care of 175 selves. But that's a lot of work because
A lot of teachers lied to me then.
they did it so they'd learn responsibility.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like, well,
suppose.
you need to learn to be prepared to show up prepared with preparedness, or you're not going to be a successful worker bee. I have expectations for you, and you they sure spent a lot of calories on addressing whether or not people brought the pencil and the eraser and the colored pencils that they were supposed to at the start of class. So, as far as I can tell, that was the most important thing to learn.
Yes, well, I'm going to say it's not. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it.
Because if it is, then you probably should make students like pass a little test every day as to whether they brought the right stuff. But if you had like science or something to teach besides bringing things, maybe you shouldn't devote all those calories that my teachers did and just have everything in the room, right?
Yes. So, and you can have it all in the room without losing it. So essentially, there's a couple of tricks. Trick number one is I didn't let students bring their own stuff to their desk. So my stuff and their stuff never got confused. You just have shelving units. This is, if you're carrying stuff from classroom to classroom, this is where we store everything in class. And you do have to get creative with what works in your space. I used bookshelves. It worked great. But kids deposited all of their stuff and only brought in their Chromebook. That meant that any pencil was mine, any pen was mine, any eraser was mine. I had everything numbered, and then everything was at the spot. So
What about like a textbook?
people don't have textbooks anymore.
What?
They can check them out from the library oftentimes, but a lot of times school districts now pay for an online version. I hate it. I prefer that. But if they had a textbook, they could bring. But even then, I recommend to teachers to just have a classroom set of textbooks and they don't leave the room. If kids want to check out the textbook, that could be something that stays at their house or in their locker.
Crazy, but that sounds good. Okay.
Once you have everything in the room and you have a system for not getting their stuff confused with your stuff, number things, have a storage container, whatever it is, then you won't have that kid needing to go get a pencil. You won't have that kid forgetting their packet. They do that stuff on purpose because it gets them out of work. They have to go get things.
But they're really just cheating themselves? No, okay. It makes sense.
If you have homework that needs to go home, even then, I prefer to have that set up electronically, or it's a one-pager that goes home, or it's a piece of paper.
But also don't, right?
Just
don't
don't.
is better.
It's better. Now this is going to go way too much in the weeds. I happen to run a flipped classroom, so the homework would be to watch a video and then potentially take notes the way that it's set up in the video, or bring the product that was from the video to the classroom. But even then, I encourage kids, we actually take pictures of it, and that is what I look at, because then it's all anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Things need to stay in the classroom, and then you don't have to worry about their paper all of a sudden being gone or whatever it is.
All right, so we've like quarantined their stuff away from the classroom stuff.
Yep.
Got it. It sounded crazy at first, but it actually seems like it makes a lot of sense.
If you don't want to supply things for everyone, or you have unique items where you wouldn't have one per person, create a supply checkout system. And I've talked about that a little bit before, but
Refresh me.
Okay, so you basically have I called it a paper clip, but it's not. A cloth clip. What's that called?
Clothespin.
Clothespin. So you can have clothespin that says calculator on it, or you can have a ruler or whatever it is, and then you make a joke out of it at the secondary level. But essentially, the kids have to wear a clothespin that says ruler on it as long as they have a ruler in their possession. You can also do the whole leave a shoe, whatever type of thing, so that they physically are leaving something with you when they take a supply to borrow.
Okay.
Next thing, maintain the line.
Hold. Like in Braveheart?
Yes!
Hold.
If you change your standard, it's not like you're going to let one of the enemy through. The entire wall will cave.
They will flank you. They will roll up your line. You will be annihilated.
Yes, you have to hold the line.
Hold the line.
It's really hard in the beginning, so you have to be willing to dedicate an abundance amount of time to teaching them exactly expectations. And keep the expectations really, really high and really precise. So for example, I have a rule that all my pencils go pencil tip up. I have a rule for how my erasers have to be put away. The excess of rules actually increases their likelihood to follow them because it causes their brain to have to remember a procedure. And so you're going to get the pencils put away. You're going to get the erasers put away.
And this is a emergent property in a way. And that, like, all the little rules seem kind of stupid. But the, like, when the 100 little rules are all followed, then something comes out of it that's, like, 10 times better than the sum of the 100 rules by themselves, right? Like, what's the point of having...
Sure.
What's the point of having pencils up or down? It doesn't really matter.
Well,
so
then I can tell if something needs sharpened, but yes.
Also, okay,
really.
whatever. But they're gonna buck at first and be like, it's stupid. Like, it's not that important, right?
Right. If you do it in the first couple of days of school, they're so paranoid to the whole mechanics of the first day of school.
But even you might think it's not that important. Each individual thing isn't that important.
It's not.
But the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And if you let slide on any little bit of it, it won't work as well as it could, is what you're saying?
Yes. It's kind of like if you want a class to come in silently, in order to get them to be silent, you have to have something for them to do. So maybe they have to tap this poster twice. When they get to this square, they have to jump 3 times. Like, it gives their brain candy.
Yes. Jumping 3 times is brain candy?
I don't know. It causes them to not talk because they're too busy remembering what are the things I'm supposed to do as I walk in.
Okay.
So same thing with putting things away. If they're so focused on, do I put my pencil up or down, that causes them to at least put the pencil away.
I'm confused a little bit because at first it was not thinking and magical, and now it's too much thinking, and therefore they can't help but do it. And your theory seems muddy now.
Okay, out of sight, out of mind with the drawer is a problem. It comes across like a game. So if it goes in the drawer and they're in a hurry, they'll just shove it in the drawer, or they'll just leave it on the top, or they'll say, I don't know where it goes, or they don't want to remember. Their brain trying to remember where does the pencil go, not as much fun as brain thinking, time to put my pencil away. Do I do up or down?
I still don't get it.
You'll just have to trust me that it works.
Okay.
That the meticulousness of how you want it put away causes everything to get put away and get put away correctly.
I suppose the difference is that it's obvious to everyone else when the pencil's the wrong way, whereas if it's just in the wrong drawer, immediate social feedback on it.
Oh, now I will say that. Kids, so for example, for me, marker caps always go marker cap up. And kids will correct other kids if they put it in the wrong way. And they'll need to fix it. Like, they can't leave it with one marker faced the wrong way.
So that's kind of the difference between your too many rules and your automatic rules, maybe then? Is that your too many rules can be socially enforced. And that sort of gamifies it.
Oh, sure. And
whereas what drawer does it go in? There's no way for people to know that it was wrong, right?
I think it's kind of like a puzzle. Like, it looks pretty when it's all done right. And so there's a visual thing there that they like. They like it all to be that way. And then it kind of helps reinforce that we always put things away where it goes. Because then, I don't know, there's that little visual zing of it looking just right.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Okay, so then don't take it personally.
I'm going. Why? What?
When you teach this to kids, it will take them a really long time and they won't do it right. And it needs to be fun and it needs to be relaxed and it needs to not be personal. Different kids have different ideas on cleanliness expectations. And if you want them to meet yours, then you have to make them want to meet yours.
Well, this one's good rule for a lot of things.
So give them an abundance of time.
Don't take it personally, but especially here and that when you're trying to enforce this kind of weird standard, it's not personal in either direction.
Right. And I tend to make, if you have special supplies, make a hard and fast rule that if I have a bunch of technology in my classroom, if it's not put away exactly correctly, then the next day, no one gets access to that technology. It's not personal. It's just the rule. We take care of the supplies that we have, and when we can't, that's okay, but it means we're not ready to use that supply.
But if you're like, well, Johnny, don't you care that you leave my room clean?
No, he doesn't care.
Right. But even if he did, like that level of motivation isn't going to work well. Whether he cares or not, it's the wrong way to go about it. It's similar to things you talked about during the first day of school stuff. It's just, it's not because you want to follow the rule or because I want you to follow the rule. The rule just is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So this one's going to feel a little bit weird, but be willing to give supplies as gifts.
Like what supplies?
Okay. So for example, I happen to provide my secondary students with mechanical pencils in my classroom.
Okay.
And kids will need a mechanical pencil because they don't have one. And so they know in my class that they have access to this pencil, but what if they need that pencil for the next class?
Right, because they needed to show that they were prepared in the next class.
Right. So have a way for kids to be able to be gifted a supply that they need.
Because
it will prevent them from stealing the supply, and it will...
Okay. I mean,
just being honest.
That's actually kind of what I thought you were going to say, so...
But be willing to, don't just say here, Jared, here's a pencil. Instead say, Jared, I would like to give you a gift of this pencil. Will you make sure that you care for this pencil and that in the weeks to come you still have it?
Sounds like a lot of pressure for just a pencil. I think I'll pass.
Right. Kids don't say that though.
I would. They should. I could just go out and buy a pencil and I don't have to make any promises like that.
You're saying that as a perspective of a kid who has the ability to go buy a pencil. We aren't talking about that kid.
Oh, maybe I just steal a pencil then? I don't know.
No, I'm going to...
You're putting a lot of weight on me there.
Yeah, but if you look a kid in the eyes and this is a gift to help your learning, I would like you to make sure to take care of it.
I don't want that kind of pressure.
Well, then you wouldn't ask for a pencil.
Okay.
I will tell you, an 8th grade boy will be thankful that you are giving them the gift if they ask for it. All you need is to say the first day or two of school that if you find yourself in a situation where you are in need of a supply, come talk to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the kids that are brave enough to come and talk to you, they need that supply. And so have the ability to give it to them. Don't just give them a pencil and say, here you go. They'll lose that. You have to make it feel special and like a gift and that you're trusting them with it.
All right. It's heavy, but maybe it should be.
Okay. Then you need to go ahead and make cleaning the beginning and end of each of your days.
Your day or the class day or what?
I would say you as a teacher.
All right. So what do you do?
Every single day you need to check that everything is perfect.
Yes, everything will be perfect every day. This doesn't fit in with your whole philosophy, I don't feel like.
It does take me approximately 10 to 15 minutes in the morning and another 10 to 15 minutes before I go home. But this saves me countless hours.
And by perfect, do you mean like restoring all the up pencils to upness?
Yes. Everything is exactly the way I want it to be for my students for the day.
Just to make sure that the rules are reinforcing themselves?
It makes it bright and shiny to want to come into the classroom and learn when you have this space totally set up for learning, and it lets you maintain a standard, maintain the line, if you know for a fact that it was correct.
Sure.
And so all you then have to do is maintain what you've already established.
Okay.
All right. Then, of course, you can outsource this. So this list that you make, you can have students help you with it by either having student helpers or elected officials, or you can have a classroom manager. It sounds silly to ask the kids for help. They will totally do it.
What list?
You're maintaining the standards list, the cleaning list that you have to do every day.
You hadn't talked about a list.
Oh, well, I meant that you have to write out what you do every day.
You have a checklist.
I have a checklist.
A checklist for
Every table gets cleaned.
pencils up, markers up.
Every marker
table.
checked. Yep.
About how many things are on your checklist then?
Maybe about 30 in the morning and about 30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
But they're simple things like collect all the trashes, sharpen every pencil, check the caddies, things like that.
Make a checklist.
Yeah, we
and
talked
then do
about
it.
that. And
We've talked about checklists before.
yes. And then you can outsource it to kids. And so a lot of times half my checklist or more will get done by students.
Okay. That sounds even better.
Yeah. Give kids time to meet your expectations and for it to be fun to meet your expectations. And then naturally they will get faster.
Spend the time on it.
Spend the time on it.
Invest the time
It
so
will
that
create
it will pay
learning
off.
time.
Yeah.
It really will.
Okay.
It'll make it fun to come to your room to learn.
Because it looks all nice. It looks like a really nice buffet.
Yes! Yes! Yes, Jared! You are making like an educational buffet of happiness.
Right. Because we all know the difference between a buffet that looks perfect and a buffet that looks like...
Used and abused.
Right. Like even like a couple things off the plate really just changes your immediate perception of how that buffet is going to go.
You are brilliant, Jared. Yes!
All right.
Educational buffet.
So recapping how to make your buffet.
Your buffet. Oh,
Your
we should have
classroom
done
buffet.
that from the beginning. Yes.
These are organic though. We can't trick the people. Out of sight, out of mind. Bad idea.
Bad idea.
Well, it's a good idea in some things, but if you want out
For
of mind,
just you, it's great to have drawers. For a small family, it's great to have drawers. For a classroom where there's hundreds of kids using it, bad choice.
if the thing you want out of mind is where does this go when it's put away, then good work. You made it out of sight. But otherwise, make everything in sight,
Insight.
and then people will naturally put it where it goes
Yes.
because they'll want to put the markers with the other markers.
Yes.
You don't need to fuss with like labels or pictures and everything
Nope.
if you just make sure you have an excess supply of things. So if you need 6 markers, have 7 of them, and then they'll just know that the place where the marker is where it goes back to.
Yes.
And then elevate, like don't let things be down inside your container where they can't see them because it breaks the in sight, in mind rule.
Correct.
We don't want the kids walking around the classroom. And a common example of this is to the trash. So give them all little trash cans that are within 5 steps of where they're at. And then they won't disrupt their learning or other people's learning to go do performative trash shooting.
Yep. Same with their supplies. Have micro storage for students that is close to where they sit.
For
that-
everything that they need.
For everything that they need, or like things like packets that's just for them, still have micro storage close to where they sit that's just for their collection or small table grouping.
And speaking of everything that they need, if your class curriculum is about teaching kids responsibility, then make them have a little homework every day of bringing everything that they need for your classroom and then fighting about it for like 12 minutes at the start of every class time. Or if you have math or science or art or something to teach, what if they just don't bring anything into your room and you already have everything there? It will help things stay much cleaner.
Correct.
And within 5 steps of them. And for certain things where you can't like have I don't know, what's something fancy?
Rulers. You do not want 30 rulers in a classroom. I mean, unless it's absolutely educationally necessary. I have had classrooms where I did have 30
Or like
rulers.
a T-square or something.
Sure.
Like
T-squares are perfect. Yes.
you can
Calculators.
have a checkout system for those
Yep.
so that helps them not get lost and stay clean
Yep. Have an easy way for you to identify who has them.
with the clothespins,
Clothespins.
not paper clips, clothespins. We
Yes.
figured that out.
Yes.
Maintain the line. None of these rules are really worth doing as each individual one. It doesn't matter if the markers are up or down. The sum of all of this together will really make things a lot easier and give you much more time to teach.
Correct.
So you can't let people start bending or breaking the little rules just because you or they feel like they don't matter that much, because it won't. The emergent property of the way that this organized classroom runs won't emerge. You gotta
Correct.
hold the line or you'll get flanked and rolled up in disaster.
Right. It will take you hours to reconstruct this every day if you don't hold the line.
So don't bother doing it unless you're gonna do it.
Yes. Yes.
Don't
Don't take hours to clean and organize your classroom if you are not going to hold them to the standard of your cleaned and organized classroom. But, continuing with our recap, what kind of mood should you have as a teacher, Jared?
You're not gonna take it personally,
Not going to take it personally. Make it fun and friendly.
and don't expect people to do things because you care or they care. Like you said before, it's just the way the rules is.
Yes, it is how it is.
Like, have a process for giving supplies as gifts
Yes.
so that it helps reduce stealing, really, is the main reason.
Yes. And you can even have, for things that are very expensive where you know you might not have the ability to provide them to a student, have a way for kids to fill out a grant and then, talk to your PTA or your PTOs, or to prevent stealing, you need to have a way for kids to find access to the supplies in a legit manner.
Okay, because even if it's just a mechanical pencil, just because cool Johanna teacher provides everything for her classroom, maybe Johnny's got to go to evil responsibility Jared's classroom next. He's going to be mad that there isn't a pencil there.
Or calculator.
Yeah, okay. And then you're going to have your checklist for what exactly organized means.
Yep.
And you're going to take a few minutes at the beginning and the end of every day to restore the classroom to exactly that state according to your checklist.
Yep.
Maybe even you'll have kids to help you do it.
Yes, they will help you do it. They like to.
And then this is kind of related to the hold the line, but you got to invest the time to do this right, or it's not going to work.
Yes. Give the kids the time to learn how to meet your standards.
Don't just start at the goal amount of time and then get frustrated when it's not working.
Yeah.
It's going to take more time at first, but it will pay for itself many times over.
Correct?
All right.
You did it.
We have a clean classroom. We did it.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Johanna.
Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life.